Well, our first guest joins us in studio, Mr. Bruce Barren. He's a corporate advisor for a company called PotNetwork Holding Incorporated. POTN is their stock symbol. Bruce, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Don.
Now, we've had an interesting chat before going on the air about your background. Why don't you tell our audience about it, because it really is fascinating.
Well, it's tough when you get involved with what I call the egos. So I got to watch myself very closely here. But I've been acolyted by places like the Central Government of China, the White House, the U.S. Senate, Central American Parliament, what have you, for what I've achieved in business, which is basically, I'm an expert in emerging businesses and businesses that have particular needs. Some say trouble, some say needs, but the more important thing is I'm what you call a professional manager. I've done a couple hundred turnarounds, of which I've been a CEO probably of 60 or 70 of them, and knock on wood, never lost one. So what's interesting about this company is how it's positioning itself in the marketplace. It's got a fascinating industry valuation, which is a top-line revenue valuation. But the more important thing is how do you carve yourself a niche, because there's so many companies, as you're aware, in this industry. And what these people have done is they've done a good job of balancing retail on one side and e-commerce on the other. As you know, e-commerce has a higher margin to it. And they have a diversity of product, which is also good. But the most important thing is that they know how to move product off the shelf. And that's what, and off the shelf at a profit, not off the shelf at a discount. What we typically see, they don't have Christmas sales, in other words.
Well, now, the company's subsidiary, Diamond CBD, you market a variety of natural CBD oils and e-liquids. Tell us about some of the products.
Well, there are basically three different types of products. There's the liquids, which is it comes in various shot sizes. There's the edibles, which is what we call the chewables. The primary product in that is the gummy bears. And then there's the vapes. So we hit the three basic areas. But what's critical of this company is we're not so-called in the direct stream of marijuana, which has a very mixed background right now. Marijuana is, although it's acceptable in just over half the states, at the state level, it's going to become more acceptable. At the federal level, it's not getting to be acceptable. And the current president is taking a hard line on drugs. At the same time, it's in line with his immigration policy, which basically says, hey, we don't need artificial stimulation. And what this company doesn't do is it has a medical benefit to its product, which is critical. It's not something you go out and you can take a bunch of gummy bears and get a high. What you do is you take a bunch of gummy bears because you're an athlete, you got sore muscles, you get, unfortunately, you get old like I am, you get a few aches and pains in the morning. So what would you do? You take a couple gummy bears. So it kind of relaxes the body, it helps you sleep at night, which is important, but it has a very direct medical benefit, and that's what's important here.
Well, of course, sales have been robust. I mean, last month reported in excess of $1 million in revenues.
Yes, what we're trying to do is that we're basically a brand new business. And one of the things you look at and when you're running a business is continuity of revenue. So what we've been trying to do is every month we do $1 million plus. It goes up very slightly because what we don't want is peaks and valleys. What we're trying to do is build a business, not scapegoat a business, as the saying might go, where you get in, make your money, and get the heck out. That's not what the company's trying to do. And that's what's important. They know the valuation standards, one of which is revenue and the other which is earnings. Revenue-wise, the company is very undervalued compared to what the industry is selling for, because I would say, a guesstimate, probably 78% of the industry is not making any money. This company's making money, doesn't need capital, and it's like, where have you been all my life?
Well, with your background, you've seen hundreds of companies, as you said, and with cannabis legislation literally sweeping the country, especially on a state-by-state level. With all of this going on, it's kind of a revolution. Do you still feel like you're on the ground floor of something even bigger?
Yes, because the ground floor is that in this particular case, there's a medical benefit to the product. And as you know, our population in the United States and around the world, we're all aging up.
Right.
Our average age is growing, And because of when we were young, like myself and probably like you, we played sports.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden you get to be 50, 60 and the aches and pains start coming in. So in this particular case, you can take a gummy, as we call it, and you can chew it, and it kind of gets into the muscle tissue, which is good. And that's why it has a medical benefit, but it doesn't suffer from the regulatory area because it can be sold in all 50 states, which is good. And it can go into many international markets without getting involved in the drug side of legislation.
Well, you speak of sports and of course, in aging and that type of thing. You can do everything at 55, you can do at 25 except recover from it.
Well, I still have my aches and pains. I was a big rower when I was a youngster. I played football and basketball and what have you. With the rowing, I used to get a lot of punches in the back from the oar behind me. And when you get a little older, those punches have a little effect on you, to say the least.
Now, you guys just cut a deal with NFL legend, Hall of Famer Lawrence Taylor. Tell us about that.
Yes, well, that's one of the directions we're going is we're going into more into branding. And that and the Chung product lines we're coming up with because we're trying to reach specialized audiences, but audiences that in turn disseminate and have a correlation to the product itself. Football, as we know, today in football, it's a brutal game, to say the least. I mean, you get out there and you've got some 300-pounders against you. Of course, when I was in high school and college, if I had a 300-pounder, I'd run off the field.
There you go.
So you get bruised a lot, and you get bruised in the sore spots of the body, the legs, the back, the kidneys, and what have you. And this product goes to attack those areas.
Nice.
So it goes to relax the body so the muscles themselves can become more coherent. Or you can't say rejuvenated because that would be a false identity. But it aids in what we call the softening of the effect of pains.
We're just about out of time, Bruce. Fascinating so far, but why is this a good time right now for people to take a closer look at PotNetwork Holding?
Well, I think the key issue here is, first of all, it's considerably undervalued based on industry standards. Second of all, it's run the right way, which is critical. It's a business where I always say the management's in the caboose, the investors in the front of the train. They get off first, the management insiders get off last. So what they're trying to do is build sustaining value, and they're doing a very good job at it. Now what they have to do is broaden the brand recognition, broaden the shareholder base as far as appeal and what have you. And at that point, it's a ground floor type investment.
Once again, the company is PotNetwork Holding Incorporated. Their stock symbol is POTN. Visit their website at potnetworkholding.com. Bruce, fascinating interview. Pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, I appreciate the privilege. Thank you.